Right.
Let's talk about creating safe spaces in Castro.
Did somebody say recovery?
Let's talk about meetings, sex and recovery.
Sober sex? Did somebody say dick?
Let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about
Welcome. You are at the CCC.
Where there are no outside issues with Bonnie Violet.
And Lulu.
Each week, we will provide and create a brave space where we engage in conversations around topics of recovery.
Thank you. And our intention is to hold and inspire better spaces for more people in recovery.
By tackling topics often used to separate us.
Yes. So before we do that, please remember to like, comment, and share wherever you are listening or watching.
Click that bell.
Exactly. Hey, Bonnie, how's it going?
Hey, Lulu, how are you doing? Who's that person next to you?
I know I was gonna lead my way, and I said hi. So today we have a special guest host, Anthony. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name's Anthony.
Oh yeah, he's using that ASMR voice.
Wow.
But
I really.
Oh yeah.
I didn't have an answer prepared for that question.
Oh, you don't have an answer? Okay. Well, better yet, tell us what you've been working on this last year.
Oh gosh, so many things. I just finished chairing a sober conference.
Yeah, pretty amazing. It's like we were talking about it. We were talking about it beforehand. How he's having a really intense come down.
Really intense, yeah.
So also, you know what? We were talking before, and I don't want to steal your answers, but what are you working on now? That's super exciting. You should share with the people.
Sure. So I'm writing my dissertation. So I'm a 6-year doctoral student, so I'm wrapping that up.
Look at this. It's like for those of you who feel like you're too busy, he's taking time off to be with us. Yes, that's all I wanted to say. Okay, go ahead.
I'm co-founding a soccer camp for kids with autism.
Hello. Yes, go ahead. I'm like a proud father, even though I'm not. I'm all, oh, this is wonderful. Oh my God, we have matching heads.
We do have matching heads. So I'm working my dissertation. I'm collecting clinical right now at a psych assessment firm, consulting for the state of California, and then there's all the things that I do for recovery.
Exactly, and there's one other thing that you're not talking about.
What is it?
It's something you do with a ball. And not that.
Oh, soccer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I'm playing soccer for FC Imperial. Tomorrow's my first game of the season.
Oh my God. It's like that. Do you guys remember Living Sober? It was that skit Hey Man, where everybody had at least 15 jobs apiece. And this one has. So Bonnie, how was your week? Huh? Let's talk to me.
Yeah, I'll talk to you. I'm good. It's been great. I'm in Portland now. So I spent the last week in LA, where it was nice and sunny. It is the sunny part of California. And then now I'm in rainy Portland. It was super rainy today, but it was cool.
While you there, are you able to see any Peter or anybody there?
Oh yeah, I'm planning on meeting up with Euphoria and some other folks in the program. And yeah, I mean, I have so much to do. I'm excited.
That's the amazing thing about recovery. It's like it's all about the connection. You go to conferences, kind of like the one you were chairing or whatever, and you get to meet these people from all around. And then when you venture out, like Bonnie's doing, you get to have kind of built-in tour guides.
Yeah, I mean, you can go anywhere and connect with community, even if you don't know. In most places, I know at least one person, and then I can go to like a meeting or coffee or something like that with them, and then it just blows up from there.
Also, I think the work that we do, like the work that I do about getting out of my way and getting closer to the sunlight of spirit, as they say, I have this personality that even though a lot of times I like my downtime and being away, I can handle myself in situations and new situations. I know to go and raise my hand, let people know I'm new
Hmm. You're the new
and that
girl in town,
exactly, and mainly that's so that I can have fun at night.
right?
So
Hi,
my,
Zachary says, "Love you all." Zachary
oh,
sends their
Zachary.
love.
Yay,
Zachary.
love you, Zachary. Right
Hey.
on, wonderful. So for me, this last Thursday, from Thursday to Sunday, I was able to
Mhm.
go to a retreat up in Occidental called Finding Fellowship, and it was a lot of fun. I hadn't been able to go in 4 years because one of the gifts of recovery, like our topic today, is that you start to work and your life gets busy and you have to prioritize the things that you want to do, and this was one of it because of work schedule and everything. It was it was relaxing, although I was more exhausted when I was done and got back because of course I had to be of service. But it was great because
Mhm.
it's an opportunity to connect with people in a deeper way than just like fellowship and what have you. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I've
that
seen
was nice.
some I've seen some amazing photos from there. It did look like it was a really great time.
Absolutely. Are you kidding? I took so many pictures. I tried to make sure I got at least one picture with people. I always joke and say, like, I gotta have at least one picture with you so that, like, in case you get sick and die.
Oh my God.
Mhm.
uh, when I do the hold on just a second.
That's
When
like
I
both practical and
cheers. No, so when I do the when I for what is that? The tribute on Facebook, or for
Mhm.
your birthday, which you have a bunch of pictures to choose from.
Mhm.
Yeah. So today our topic is the gifts of recovery.
Mm,
And a lot of what we've been talking about, like, kind of speak to that.
mm,
I mean, it's like, and I'll shut up and share the stage. But I think coming in, obviously, the gifts of recovery, they don't look the same way. They don't look now the same way they did
Mhm.
then. Like I was expecting that I was going to have a boyfriend, I was going to have a nice job, a nice car, a nice job, all these frilly things that were really just for show. And for me, my gifts are on the cellular level almost. They just go deep. So how about you?
cellular.
Go ahead.
Gifts of recovery for me.
Yeah.
Um, that's I love that question because I feel like I didn't really start living my life until 3 years ago when I came back from a relapse, right? So that's the first thing is that like I feel like I'm actually living my life. And then kind of a major one has been like there's been this crazy turnaround in my family that I never thought was imaginable, right? And they're on the other side of the country. So those are two examples.
Bonnie, you're missing this. It's like not only is that voice, but he's also being really intense with looking over at me. I'm
He's
kidding.
paying attention.
How about you,
Yeah.
Bonnie? When you think about the gifts of recovery, what about you?
I mean, the first thing that I think about are and we don't speak for any particular program, but in the program that I was a part of, the promises, the 9 step promises, they called them, was something I heard at my first meeting. They would read it at the end of the meeting. And I remember feeling like I didn't know what was really going on, and sometimes I didn't feel like I really related to a lot of people, but when I heard those promises, I was like, "That's what I want." Like,
Mm,
I didn't like, I questioned whether I really even had a drinking problem or a drug problem, but I definitely knew that I wanted those promises to happen in my life, and so I remember just hoping I would get to read that at the end of the meeting, and sometimes even finding myself in tears over it because there was such this like deep like yearning to have I'll read some of the promises, that feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. The financial no more financial insecurity, or just those. I'm like, they're not coming out of my mouth well at the moment, but I
No,
remember just loving to hear them.
no, I absolutely get it. And the interesting thing is like, it is not like you were talking about the financial insecurity. It's not like I'm never going to owe money again or that I'm going to
Mhm.
get better all of a sudden at being at finances. I think the biggest promise for me is how I relate to
mm,
things, how I relate to
Mhm.
things. It's like, when you sit down and they say the only thing that you have to change is everything. I used to think, oh God, that means I can't have an iPhone or this, that, whatever. No, what it means is like, I can't care more about this iPhone than the things that are more important to me. And so the other thing is like, I find that, there really are no big deals now. It's like, I can choose to get stuck in something and act accordingly or whatever, or I can see it for what it is, especially when someone takes an action that I don't necessarily agree with or whatever. I don't have to be all dramatic like I was and make it about me. I get to just see that that's their stuff and I don't have to participate in it. And also I get to practice gratitude that I'm not that fucking stupid. No.
That's good.
Oh yeah, go
Oh
ahead.
yeah. Well, I was just thinking about like in my experience, you always get to where you need to go, and you can get there like kicking and screaming, or you can get there taking the easier, softer way, right? And so I think when you talk about that perspective around money, it's like you can trip about your money and be anxious, but you're still going to have to deal with whatever consequences or whatever situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Bonnie,
and this really is the easier, softer way. That was something I always had to remind myself, even though it was one of the most awful and painful experiences I've ever been through. I knew in my heart of hearts it was the easier, softer way, and continues to be the easier, softer way, because it could definitely be a lot more painful and a lot more difficult.
Yeah. Well, I always refer back to like the work I'm doing with sponsees, but it's like, this is a little sidebar, but the easier, softer way. I love that you guys talk about that, but I think that that there's a piece where you have to be restored to sanity first. You have to actually believe that it's the easier, softer way, because for so long, my experience was I was gravitating towards those things that were harmful because I didn't know enough to know that they were not okay. And unfortunately, like I keep finding myself in those situations. I just transfer from one thing to the next. And the longer that I stay sober and the longer that I do the work and that I have, like they say, this design for living, that's another gift.
Yeah.
I have this design because when we're born, we don't have like rule books or a manual.
Right.
And unfortunately, sometimes we're given guides who didn't even know that a manual was necessary. Like one of our fellows, Miss Billy, says that she was raised by wolves. And when you were raised by wolves, how can you possibly have experience or to appreciate? So no.
Well,
I thought Bonnie Valley was going to say something. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was, but I was just going to say that also reminds me of the concept that many of us were raised by parents who had their own addiction and their own problems, which in a lot of ways were still children. So, and they were probably children who, like many of us had to be adults before we were, and so I think there's just like this repetitive kind of thing that happens where we have folks who are not really adults yet, who don't know how to parent well, don't know how to whatever, and they're now in charge of these other people's lives to mess them up. Because no matter how well our parents do and how much maybe even better it is than they had, we still don't seem to get out without being harmed.
Yeah.
This conversation's bringing up so much for me. Like the first thing I'm thinking of is there's this really beautiful Audre Lorde quote. I'm going to mess it up, but basically the idea behind it is like, once you know real love and once you know real peace, you'll demand it.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah.
And so it just reminds me a lot about kind of like the peace that I've experienced, or in this like the serenity I've experienced, and how my threshold for pain has changed because like I know what sanity feels like. I know what love feels like. But it really takes, like, you have to become open to it, right? Like which reminds me of a quote. It's like, love is an attempt to penetrate another person's soul, but it can only happen if the surrender is mutual, right? And so I think with our relationship to God, it's like God is there, but you have to become open.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I love in the readings all the time. Like, God is there if you want God.
Right.
This experience is there if you are open to it. There is no pressure, and like you said, it's like it has to be mutually consensual.
And God is forever consensual.
Yes, exactly. Well,
Right.
Exactly. You just have to kind of wake up and get with the program.
Yeah. If he were soft.
You know, I love that. We just had this moment. We just had this moment. I really appreciate the quotes because it's like you know, sometimes we sign on and we start talking or whatever, and as much information as we have, we draw blanks because you know, I don't know about you, Bonnie, but I get all excited and I'm all,
Yeah.
what am I going to say next? What am I going to say next?
Yeah, there can definitely be those moments when you're like, oh my gosh, what do I need to say? Or you like think
Joseph,
about it all day before the show.
yeah,
Yeah.
Joseph said. In the beginning, it didn't feel like an easier, soft way, but after I surrendered and threw myself into the program, it began to feel that way, and that's so true.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is that we have to be gentle with ourselves, and I always say being gentle with yourself is not that you are going to overlook and ignore the things that you need to do. It's just that you're not going to punish yourself for not doing it perfectly. It's like the reality of it is that, you know, if I were perfect, I would not need to do this. You know, I would be off and doing my own thing because I did it perfectly. But the reality is, I need time. I need time to learn how. And it's with this whole idea of the easier, softer way. It's like I'm going to do the work long enough. And you know how we act ourselves, we think ourselves into, is it act ourselves into right thinking? Yes, act ourselves into right thinking. We eventually get to a place where we can see, you know, oh my God, this makes so much sense.
Right.
I always said that the toughest, easiest decision I made was to put down drugs and alcohol, to knock that wall down.
Yeah. Yes, me, like one of the things I think is really dangerous is still having fight left in you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like whenever I hear someone give me an excuse for why they can't make it to a meeting or do step work or anything, I'm like, you have too much fight left in you. You know what I mean? It's like, which I guess is just another form of surrender.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a powerless place to be because when somebody's there, they're there. It's like as much as I want to, what I've learned to do is not to make their shit about me.
Yeah.
I don't know about you all,
Mhm.
but I didn't realize that there was a different way to exist. I didn't know that I could actually get better results in my life. I had just resigned to this is good as it gets for a person like me, born in the family that I was born into, and with the identities and the experiences that I've had, that I only get to maybe just get through things and try to smile through it, you know, throw some glitter on it and keep going. And through recovery, I've been able to understand that I can actually heal and see that I had already been impacted by so many of those things that I thought I just got over. I hadn't really got over them. And they were just hanging on to me and keeping me down and holding me back. And, you know, I didn't know how to do anything different to get different results. And that's what recovery did for me, was it began to get me to reach outside of myself um, so that I could begin to do things differently so that I could get different results, because I had definitely didn't know. I just didn't know how to do. I didn't know how to do. I got to the point where I just didn't know how to get any different results than I just kept getting.
Yeah, you're reminding me. It's so funny because I feel like I just did this thing that I hate that people do sometimes, is when they speak in this kind of general way, like that, in a way that like their recovery experience is everyone else's recovery experience. And what you're reminding me of, Bunny Violet, is how insanely personal it is. You know, like no one gets to kind of determine what it's supposed to look like, including me when I say you have too much fight in you, right? Like I don't know why someone is making the decisions they are.
No, but it's understandable. I mean, it's like, I mean, that's reasonable to think that somebody's got a little extra fight in them when they're fighting. I think we all come in. We come in pretty defiant. It's like,
You're so generous.
but it's true. It's like the reality of like, it's still not something that I'm completely sold on when I come in. So I'm constantly challenging it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with challenging it until it becomes a detriment. Because if I create this notion or this idea that what I need the most, because I'm still holding on to that other thing, that drugs and alcohol, that this new thing that I need the most is not okay, then I'm going right back to that other thing that's slowly killing me. So it's like, so yeah, I get that.
There's a question for Anthony from Joseph. Anthony, by fight left in you, do you mean resistance left in you?
That's a really good question. What I mean is a reason to do something other than get better, right? Like I don't think it translates as resistance to people. I think it just translates as just wanting something else. I don't know if that answers his question. I have to think about that now because it makes sense in my head.
Yeah. Well, and that's like the power of words sometimes. And I think that's why sometimes we can get away with these generalizations. And also sometimes we have to like dig a little deeper, is fight the same as resistance? And then what is it? Are you fighting, like, are you resisting God doing for you what you can't do for yourself? Are you fighting
Mhm.
the belief that God could help you through this, or a higher power or whatever? So I think it's all just kind of how you
Yeah,
how you look at
yeah,
it.
yeah. I think you're right. I mean, I guess the maybe the other way of phrasing it is like all the reasons why a person won't surrender, and I don't think that's resistance. I think it might be, well, it could be any number of things, right? But I think it's like, to answer the question, I think it's just any reason why you wouldn't do the other thing, and I don't think it's
Mm.
necessarily resistance.
I
Yeah,
almost
and
felt I almost felt like in our case it is resistance,
Mm.
because it's like like it like when I think about that whole fight thing, like if I'm trying to convince you that what I was doing was okay,
Mm.
and what you're trying to suggest for me
Mm.
may not be okay, or I'm constantly trying to chip holes in it where
Mm.
there may not be any holes,
Mhm.
maybe it is resistance.
Mhm.
yeah. And
To
Jeff, oh,
what you were
sorry.
saying, okay, to what you were saying earlier, like
Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable.
you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Before I came in, or before I even figured out that recovery was what I needed, I had to get over the denial, because like I was telling someone a story. I remember, like, I was on the bus headed to work,
Mhm.
and I was in the back feeling like the worst or
Mhm.
whatever, and telling myself, "Oh, no, 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 I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem," because like that's not my thing. That's not my story. I don't have a problem. When in fact I had a problem. And I think it took like it must have taken like 5, 6 more years after that experience, or after that conversation, that I quickly like blocked out, uh, where I was able to say, "Yeah, this is too much. I can't do this. I
Mhm.
need help."
Mhm.
And once I was able to kind of say those things, then all of a sudden it seemed as though every door that I needed to open in the way that it needed to open,
Mm.
Hmm.
and it makes me think that they were always open, and I just
Right.
couldn't see them.
Mm.
I was vibrating at a different frequency.
Right. I wanted to say hello to Rose as well. Rose
Hi,
says hi down in Fresno. And
hello,
then
Oh,
Jeff had
Rose.
an
Rose. Oh, hi,
Hey,
yes.
Rose.
Rose.
Yay.
And Jeff had a comment. Jeff says getting better might mean a longer dance for some rather than moving in a straight line.
Hi,
Absolutely.
Jeff. Jeff's one of my really good friends.
Yeah, no, I agree with Jeff. What's so important to note is that like we were talking about, it doesn't look the same for everybody. It's
Mm.
like it would
Mm.
be nice if there were steps. I mean, obviously there are steps, but if a way and a time frame that everybody could find the relief that they need. But the truth of it is that you get it when you get it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And what I always encourage you to do is, like, if you're someone who doesn't get it, then surround yourself with people who are not making your humanity, your struggle about them.
Mm.
Because I don't know about you all, but I had fear early on,
Mm.
when I saw friends, people that I was close with, that I came into recovery with, struggle and then fall short, because
Mm.
Mhm.
without knowing it, I was seeing myself. I was seeing what could happen to me. But now I understand that, like they say, fear is false evidence appearing real.
Mm.
There is no absolute proof, if I'm doing what I need to do, that was going to be the direction that I go in.
Mm.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. Raul also joined us and says hi.
Hey,
Hi,
Raul.
Raul.
Another friend.
And also, for everyone watching, even with 31 years, I find denial creeps in aspects of my life. So how do you all work through them? And that was from Rose. We love you,
Denial.
Rose.
I find denial creeps.
You know what? I don't know about
Mhm.
you all, but like, okay,
Mhm.
so my relationship with my higher power, and then also my relationship with the truth. I started doing this thing before I came into the rooms, and I know this is my higher power, where I would look at a situation that was causing me some grief or whatever, and I would try to get as honest as I could.
Mm.
And I think that, that changes over time. Like in the beginning, maybe I'm treating myself with kid gloves
Mm.
over a situation, but I usually try to kind of such a Virgo. I'm very logical about certain things, and so I also try to surround myself with people who are keeping it real, whatever that means to you as an individual. surround yourself with people who don't blow smoke up my ass, or because obviously I'm going to want people to tell me what I want to hear. But the truth of it is, it's like I have an amazing sponsor who can read through my nonsense, and so.
You know what you're reminding me of is like this idea of keeping it real. I feel like there's so much room to cause harm in that, right? For many of us who may have been in like abusive relationships, someone's keeping it real could just be like further abuse. So sometimes it's like really hard to distinguish between, is someone being hurtful or are they being helpful? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that made me think of like that made me think of like before I got sober, like remember getting into relationships and telling them that I was just going to hurt them and it wasn't, like all that sort of stuff like that. And then of course it would happen. But for somehow it felt like if I just put it out there first, then and they decided to still be in relationship with me, then that was kind of on them.
What do you call that when you say it ahead of time and then
self-fulfilling prophecy?
Yes, self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, when I was talking about keeping it real, like, okay, so like I think about the relationship with my sponsor.
Yeah.
We've built it over time. It was not something that I just, someone just randomly showed up and was keeping it real, like that Dave Chappelle skit when keeping it real goes wrong. The other part of it is me kind of, I have all these safeguards, these things that I do to keep me safe, so you will, and so it's a back and forth type thing. It's not where if I'm spiritually sound, as they say, if I'm doing what I need to do, then I find myself less and less drifting into the land of denial. Also, I do a regular gratitude list, and in that gratitude list, I don't just put all the flowers and rainbows or whatever. Sometimes I just say I'm grateful that I wasn't an asshole today. Different things like that, where I just try to make it, keep it real.
Yeah. Like as I'm sitting here, I'm having all these feelings, and I think what that's making me think of is how there's so much we can't explain and how much dies when we try to describe it.
Yeah.
Because when you're saying keeping it real, you're referring to a relationship.
Yeah, no,
right.
Exactly.
And like I don't know what that relationship looks like, but real is the word that you're choosing.
Yeah, no, exactly. But, and you're right. Maybe there is another word, but I also think that I can only speak for my relationships and how I show up in my relationships.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is like if I say I love you, right? Like you don't know what that means for me,
exactly.
like, and we're all using the same phrase, right?
Yeah,
but those relationships are all kind of unique. Does that make sense?
Right.
It does. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, and there's a language beyond just what we say, that can be felt and heard, whatever. And I think as we get into relationships, deeper relationships with folks, we begin to experience love without words. We begin to experience trust without words. We begin to feel seen without somebody having to tell us they see us. I think those sorts of things happen as we open up beyond the words.
You know what I think is amazing, and what we've been talking about and how we've been talking about it, the gifts of recovery that this being the topic, they're not always so obvious that they're gifts. The fact that we're having these conversations, because there was a time where I just wasn't open to certain things, where I would shut down. Somebody would want to go deeper about things, and I don't have time. I'm open to stuff, and I'm not falling apart. I'm not falling apart because the conversation doesn't sound a certain way or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm able to handle myself and actually try to go through experiences with as much grace. I threw this in there because with as much grace as possible.
Yeah.
Keeping it cute.
Keeping it cute.
Go ahead, Bonnie.
Sorry, I just wanted to acknowledge David. David has found us again. He was a regular listener and is popping on again. So hello. Sorry. Go ahead, Anthony.
David was with us on a retreat. David P.
Oh, maybe I know him. Hi, David. I forgot what I was going to say.
It'll come back. I was watching and listening on YouTube, but figured out how to finally get back here on Twitch. Hi, everyone. I've been missing the show and glad you're back. Thank you. We're glad you're back.
Hey, David.
Definitely.
No, we had a moment. You're trying
Is
to
it
think about
coming
what
to you,
I
Anthony?
No, and it's super
It's all
annoying.
coming back to me now.
What were
Joseph
you
said,
about?
oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Louis, what were you saying
What was I saying about like?
just a second ago?
Oh my God! It's like, come on, see,
It feels like a stream of consciousness. I don't. Okay.
it was all
Right.
coming back. You
Maybe
know,
Joseph's comment can help.
yeah.
Joseph
Joseph, you.
says, I appreciate the need for nuance, especially in dealing with newcomers. Somewhere in the BB, which is the big book, it cautions, remember they are very sick.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of my favorite things this is not the thing, but one of my favorite things that my sponsor told me is that everything will at some point fail you. Your sponsor will fail you, the fellowship will fail you.
Yeah.
And someday all that stands between you and whatever substance is God.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think that to me, that's a really good reminder because I can make my recovery about all things but God. Right.
Yeah.
And God
Yes.
is everything or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and I think sometimes, and it's not like you don't recommend it, right? But like I know that there was times in my recovery where, I came to realize a lot like what you said, that my sponsor had been my higher power or had been my God. And sometimes your belief and your higher power was what I could tap into to be okay with. So I think also just realizing that that's like where we're getting, but I think at one point in time, I don't think you could have told me that my sponsor was my higher power, but as soon as he failed me, I learned real quick that how much power I had given him in my life, and thankfully I was able to reach to something other than another person.
I always do that when I sit down with a potential new sponsee. I let them know at some point I'm going to let you down, just
Yeah.
because that's it. So as much as I'd like you to, don't place too much in me. It's like you have to place it in the relationship you have with your higher power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and there's just so many more folks. I think that's also something, the gifts of the recovery is the fact that we have access to a bunch of different folks in recovery, and in recovery, I think especially in early recovery, there is kind of like, I don't know about you, but I like kind of had these categories, if you will, of people or these places where I could talk about certain things. Like I remember having friends who would want me to be their sponsor, and I'm like, I would rather not, because I like that we're friends, because once we become a sponsee relationship, our dynamic's gonna change a little bit, and I feel like I could support you better as a friend than a sponsor. And all those relationships are really important to me, because there are some things I just can't take right to my sponsor, or I need to share with a fellow, or I need fellows because I'm struggling to have the nerve to share with my sponsor what it is I need to share.
Yeah. So another gift of recovery, and you talked about it, was, and we've talked about it before, tribes. Like I heard it and I latch onto it completely. Finding your tribe of people in wherever you go, but in recovery specifically, because I came in and you know I guess I wanted everything to be just okay. And actually, my true experience was that my life had gotten so small. So by the time I came into the rooms, even though I was super uncomfortable and I didn't think people really wanted me around, I was so grateful that I wasn't alone. I was
Mhm.
so grateful that phone started ringing, and I started to have people to call. And I think that I what I truly love about recovery, and this is actually something that I was. I, think this relates to what we're talking about. But when you have individuals who back away or who move away, who step away from meetings or the community, and then they have issues with individuals who are not able to kind of be around them or whatever. I think, like for me, I had to make sure that I was taking care of myself, and I think I lost my thought in the middle of this, but the whole deal is like you have you have
Same.
this built-in family, you have this built-in family and community, but it's a built-in family that is a built-in family while you're here. And it is important, I think, as you're doing the work, that you can only nurture as many relationships as you can, like count on one hand, just about.
Mm.
So you can't have 100 million close friends, although some people think. And it's a gift because it's like the program and the community kind of takes some of the steps out of it to get to people, because like if you didn't have a place to meet, so to say, uh, you probably couldn't find a lot of these amazing people,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
Like I say, we would not normally mix, so that's a gift.
Yeah. One of the questions I have for you all is, I know one of the promises that I really I think helped me realize one of the first gifts that I got from the program, other than not drinking or using, um, and it was before I actually got to the ninth step, was I had an experience where, it says, we will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. So can you think of a situation that used to baffle you that in recovery you've been able to conquer or at least do differently?
I'm thinking.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I could share what came to me first, and then you two can
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
pop off with yours. But I remember for me, when I first got sober, I had a really near dear friend of mine. We both were like kind of hitting our bottoms in different ways. She was very suicidal, had lots of suicidal ideation. I was like saving her all the time, which was just crap. That's one thing that I thought I did a lot of, was save people before I got sober and kind of got through some things. And I remember getting to a space with her where I had to sit down with her. I was new in recovery within my first 6 months, and I had to sit down with her because she'd like went to go, end her life, and then called me a couple hours, and we had this conversation, and I said, "Well, I wish you wouldn't do that, but whatever." And then it was like she went to go do that, and then a few hours later she calls me like nothing happened. And I just was not in a place where I could handle that anymore. And I remember just telling her that, you know, she asked me to take her to a hospital, and I told her no. I had told her I had taken her millions of times before, and something in me just said no. And it's like, no, it's not that I don't have the time. It's not that I don't want to. I just don't think it's helpful for me to take you again. And then I was able to also then talk to her and say, hey, I love you with all my heart, and I want you to be well, and I need to be well, and I need to have you out of my life for a period of time, and I hate that, and I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Like, I had to keep telling her that because I knew that my behavior was maybe not going to come across that way to her. And I was like, maybe one day we'll get to have tea and talk about, what this time has been for us. But that was one thing that baffled me, that, I said, no, I can't do that. And actually I need to step away from you for a while. And that was really shocking to me. I didn't, and that was something outside of me that was, putting those words in my mouth, having me take those actions.
Did you think something?
Did you?
Yeah, it was similar. It was similar to yours, Bonnie. It's like so. I can go after.
Oh, you want me to? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is so I'm just thinking about what happens when I'm by myself and my thoughts start to spiral. And I think what happens now is that there's like an immediate space between me and the thought and me and the feeling, right? And that space wasn't there before. And that feels intuitive, sometimes the noise, the feelings get loud, sometimes the thoughts get loud. And most of the time, there's distance. So that feels intuitive. The other part of that is like when it gets too loud, the feelings or the thoughts, I know where to go, and that also feels intuitive. I guess because the opposite of that, or what life used to be before maybe this intuition was cultivated, is that there was no distinction between my thoughts and my feelings, and so I went wherever they went. It's different now.
Yeah.
So I was listening to you, Bonnie. It's like, for me, it's about relationships and about like trying to make relationships, like holding on to the things that are toxic, holding on to things that don't serve you anymore, and thinking that I need to make them right. And I think that, like, when you find yourself in patterns of, just like with alcohol and addiction or whatever, like I was saying earlier, you switch it over. Well, I switched it over to people, and I kept having the same types of relationship with folks, and it didn't happen overnight, and it's not as painful, or it doesn't last nearly as long, but it's like I still find myself just recently, and I think I shared it last season on here, a relationship with an individual who I love dearly, but you know what? I no longer think that it serves me to be disrespectful or toxic to someone, and I don't have that energy or space for that in my life. And it makes, and it's one of those things where it's like it's not it's not hard, or it's not unimaginable. Once I was like, oh, wait, this is what this is. This is toxic. Once I was clear on that, it was no longer there was no longer issue about what to do about it. And I think that that's what's amazing in recovery, and where I'm not baffled. It's like, if this is not good for me, then I need to make a decision. I don't need to go ahead.
Right. Well, and the toxicity was not necessarily her. It was my relationship to her and her behaviors and her life. And so that was the thing that I had to address. I had to detoxify, if you will, remove the toxicness from how I was in relationship with her. And at the time, I just didn't have the capacity to be different than what I had always been with her. And so I just needed to get away so that I could figure that out. It's kind of like my relationship with I remember when I lost God, when I got gay, when I got gay and AIDS, and I lost God, and there was a part of me that knew that God understood what was going on, and God could handle what was going on in my life and how I was responding and what was going to happen, but I could not. I could not see it the way God saw it, and I just had to let it go. I just had to be like, I you got it, God, and I don't understand, and so because I can't understand, I can only hold this much of it right now. That's just all I can do. And I feel like that's just kind of the way it was with her in that particular situation.
Mm. Yeah, it reminds me of something a friend told me a long time ago, which is like, we don't have to throw pain around. Whenever we're in conflict with someone, we're just throwing pain around.
Yeah.
And sometimes, at least for me, I should speak for myself. When I'm having that visceral response to someone, I want to make them suffer, although that may not be the thought, right? And
Right.
if I metabolize that, then I am essentially, I'm cutting I guess I'm reducing who gets hurt,
Yeah. There was something Joseph, I think, made a really great point. Do you want to read that, Anthony?
I don't see it.
Yeah.
Do you see it? Oh, here it goes. And what you're saying is different from working with a newcomer who is sick or somebody going through a hard patch. But if I'm hanging around somebody inconsistently, in the words of William S. Burroughs, I feel like I've lost a pint. Is that a pint of plasma? I'm going to get the fuck away from.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that is just discerning that just because somebody is having a difficult time doesn't mean that we have to necessarily stay away from them. I think that's kind of the delineation. It's not like, oh, because somebody's a newcomer, I need to stay away. I think it's quite the opposite. But I was a newcomer at that time. I was somebody who, didn't have the capacity for a lot.
You feel like you're more of a service if you pay attention to how you're in their space, how you approach someone, how you deal with someone. Because if you're toxic, or if you're accepting, not showing up in a way that is conducive to a healthy whatever, then it probably is a good idea to stay away. On that note, I want you to know that you can reach me at LouisLou86 on Instagram. You'll find all these fun pictures and whatever, and send me notes and tell me what you think we should talk about. What about you, Anthony? Is there any way for folks to reach you?
I'm actually not on social media.
Oh, right now. See, it's making us feel bad. I see.
Yeah, no, the only thing I do have is LinkedIn.
Oh, okay. LinkedIn and Christian Mingle.
No, it's because I work with, I'm in mental health, and so I have to be careful about how exposed I am.
Absolutely understand. And Ms. Bonnie?
And I can be reached at a queer chaplain on all social media apps. So check me out there.
Right on. And thank you so much, Anthony, for joining us. And you have to join us
Yes.
again.
Yeah,
Like the
I'm
whole time
welcome.
I'm thinking,
I mean, you're welcome.
the whole time I'm thinking, this one's amazing. It felt so natural, like you've been doing this with us all this
Mhm.
time.
I really like you, so
Yeah,
it's easy
no,
to
see,
talk to
yeah,
you.
that's it's helpful. Yeah, yeah,
It
and
is helpful when we like each other, yes.
exactly, makes the world of difference. So I want to remind everybody, the Castro Country Club is a clean and sober gathering place for all people and a home for the queer recovery community. We're located in the heart of the Castro district in San Francisco, and we endeavor to be a space where all can seek wisdom, serenity, courage, and joy. Find information at castrocountryclub.org.
Yes, and we would love to hear from you. So give our speak pipes some attention. You can
No,
leave us a voice message or ask
it's
us a question, and we can include it in one of our upcoming episodes. So check out the
our
link in the description.
yeah, our speak pipe
Well,
doesn't. I'm sorry, I kept cutting out. Our speak pipe does not bite.
What is that?
Speak pipe. Can you explain the speak pipe?
Speak pipe?
yeah, so it's a link you can go to, and you can record a message, kind of like leaving a voicemail, and then we can play it back either on air. If it's something more private, we can also just, like someone's thinking of a topic they'd like for us to talk about, so we can use it a lot of different ways.
Got it.
Please tune in every Tuesday around 4 o'clock. We go live on our Castro Country Club Facebook and YouTube channels.
And that's Pacific Standard Time, 4 o'clock.
Exactly. And look, you can say that. Look for us at the CCC.
Oh, you can look for us at the CCC. Were you going to have Anthony do that?
You want to do that?
What?
Like, here, say, look for us at this.
I can't.
It's taped down.
Okay, hold on. Sorry. I'm like ruining your.
No, you're not.
Where is it? Is it where the lines cross?
No, this one here. Look for.
Okay, leave us a voicemail on our speak pipe.
No,
This
lower.
up top.
Cold, hotter. You're almost there.
Okay. Look for. Is that supposed to be us? Okay. Look for us at the CC at the CCC. Wherever you listen to podcasts.
That's the name of it. And email us at podcast at castrocountryclub.org.
Awesome.
And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and follow us.
Yeah, click that bell if you're on Facebook, and you'll get
notifications.
notifications.
I know, we love you too. Thank you guys. Thanks, you.
Rose. Thanks, David.
Lovely.